Thanks to everyone that's joining us live and loud. If you haven't done so already, please do hit the like button on the stream. We might find some more Jungle Gyms to come and hang out with us on a Thursday night for a wee Celtic Supporters Club action. One of me and McBride's favourite parts of these shows is we like to put on Brendan Rodgers as Tom Ford. We like to get into the shoes of the manager, try and get into the headspace and think, what team is he actually going to pick ahead of the weekend? Me and McBride love a wee bit of fantasy football, and that's a big, big part of our weekend is what is the Celtic team? Is it as expected, or is there a curveball in it? So it's definitely a part of the week I know me and McBride have a good bit of fun with, and hopefully you guys do too. But I think, McBride, looking at the squad layout for this week, actually a lot of question marks with what could happen, what should happen, what will he do. There's a lot of chat talking about how McKeown never got a kick last night, despite everyone else getting ran into the ground. I'm not too sure I consider that as a slight on in McKeown so much as I think it's just keep the best guys on because it's 2-1 and we're not fucking around here kind of thing. Because he's put McKeown on against Villa, I'm sure, if memory serves me right. So I don't think there's any doubt from Brendan or any like shade being thrown from Brendan towards McKeown. How do you read that one? The midfield, McKeown.
Yeah, I think McKeown will start.
You think he starts the weekend?
I think he's got to start. I think you've got you've got to rotate a bit. You know, you can't just slog the guys. And you know, we had that Raith Rovers game, we were able to rotate a wee bit. I think he'll make some changes because you know when we play in Scotland, we've got a lot of the possession of the ball, which means we're not chasing as much. But you know, for a large parts of the game last night, we were kind of like chasing the ball or trying to press the ball or out with possession. So I think he'll make some changes to freshen it up because you want to go over there, and if you need to go over there and try and press and counter attack, then you need energy. So you know, it's natural that I think he'll want to make a few changes. So I think McKeown's the one that's an absolute stick on to start in midfield, and then it's like, you know, is Bernardo back from his injury? If not, do you start with Engels and take him off a bit early, or do you start with Hatai? He looked knackered as well. So as you say, maybe you do something different and you play Taylor left back, you start with Schlupp, you know, just as a complete, you know, curveball type thing. Schlupp can play in midfield, so that's why you brought him in, because he play different positions, start him there, and then maybe even Schlupp starts against Bayern Munich, just because, you know, he's got a bit more pace. I don't know. That might be one of the solutions. If you're playing Jota, for example, rather than Dyson, then, you know, Jota's not going to give as much protection back there. So maybe you start Schlupp because he's got that natural pace to try and combat Elise. So, yeah, I think there could be some changes in midfield, but never ever really seems to drop McGregor. So, like, he played against Raith Rovers. So,
yeah, McGregor's probably playing, isn't he? I think the Bernardo one is touch and go. We'll watch and see how that one comes. I didn't think that was a bad injury when he got it, you know, but certainly no place on the bench for him against Bayern, which is pretty revealing, perhaps. The Schlupp one is interesting because if McGregor is going to get rested, it's probably Schlupp that comes in. I don't think Schlupp would come in for Engels.
I don't know. I mean, Engels does tend to put in a shift, right? So, I don't know, every so often he has been rested. I mean, we're 13 points clear. Like, we kind of do what we want.
Yeah.
Like,
if we had Odin home, he'd be useful today, wouldn't he? He'd be useful for this. If we had Odin home. Or a Wata. Way.
So we do want to keep the momentum going, and, you know, there's still a lot to play for, but so we don't want to like take a foot off the gas. But what I mean is we can take a bit more of a risk. We don't have to start with like 10 of the guys that started that game just because we're thinking this 3 points is crucial. We can be a bit more risky and we can rotate a bit more just with a view to targeting that game against Bayern Munich. And then if we're out, then we're out, and then we can focus on the other competitions, you know. So
yeah. I think Dyson, I'm just keeping up with the chat. A lot of you guys are saying similar stuff to us as well. Love to see the interactions. And San Fran Celtic here, they were bouncing off Schlupp. I think he starts Tuesday as well, personally. And I think it was you, McBride, that said Jota probably gets 90. Was it you that said, do you think Jota gets 90 in this game? Baptism of fire, get you up to speed, crash course style. Was that you that said that?
I don't know. I think he'll start. Like he had the sub appearance and he started against Dundee, and we kind of I thought that was maybe a wee bit too soon for him to start, but he started, and then he gets some bench time, and then he come on towards the end, obviously, against Bayern. So I think he'll start. I don't think he'll play the full 90, but I think he'll play like 60 or 70 or something, get that proper match fitness sort of workout into him, but not like, don't tire him out to it. If you intend to start him, obviously, against Bayern Munich, then to get him up to sort of match sharpness. So, I think he'll definitely start. I think it's an obvious one to rescue as well, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think I think the front three probably does just about pick itself at this one for the weekend. The midfield is a big question mark, and then the defence, it's kind of a bit of something as well. The chat is going mad for Ralston, saying Johnson should be rested. Carter Vickers is getting a shout for rested. I think they are the only. Still don't know what's happening with left back, right? But I don't think it's a resting situation. It's maybe do we want Schlupp up a gear? Do we want to get him more match ready? It's against Dundee United, Schlupp or Taylor, it's neither here nor there. Who cares who's playing left back between the two of them, really? It's more the Bayern game, like you say, is the precursor. Yeah. Do we think Scales comes in for Vickers? You think Vickers still starts the weekend? I don't know.
I think Dane Murray could start. I don't know. I mean,
fair. Dane Murray Scales? Do you think he would do Dane Murray Scales?
You never know. I mean, I think he said that there was I'm sure he said that, was it the Dundee game that got called off because the stadium was damaged, that he had some thoughts about starting Dane Murray in that game as well for Carter Vickers, So I think he likes Dane Murray. I think he rates him, and obviously he's had a lot of injuries in his young career, like a bad injury, for over a year and a half or whatever, and it's just a proper long recovery time. So I think Celtic do rate him, and as you said earlier, he fills that sort of homegrown young Scottish guy side of things, somebody you want to have around the squad. So I think between now and the end of the season, he will get game time. And, when you're 13 points clear or whatever, that's a perfect chance to give somebody like that game time. Does Vickers need a rest? I don't know. I mean, he's had rests and stuff, but just depends how his overall fitness is. He maybe played that sort of run of 7 or 8 in a row, and we kept saying he's going to get rested this week, and you just never rested them. But then we've built that league now where you can afford to swap out the odd one. Johnson, Ralston. Well, Johnson had a rest a couple of games ago when Ralston came in, so it could indicate that he might do something similar. I don't know. For a Sorare point of view, I'm just getting a big headache now, so I don't want to think of that.
Fair play. I think Trusty's quite Monty's saying don't make too many changes, need to keep winning, and I think Brendan values momentum, even though it's this game. The Dundee United match, I don't think has the power to derail our momentum because we're so far ahead in the league. Dundee United would have to embarrass us, I think, for this game to have a negative impact on Bayern. I think the players will be able to compartmentalise it in their head easy enough that this is Bayern, it's a different kettle of fish to Dundee United with the Champions League campaign we've had so far this year. So I think Trusty could stay in and dodge the rotation. If Vickers was to play, maybe he would play Murray, saying you've got a right and a left. He does like a bit of that, doesn't he? So that's actually a bit of a headache, like you say. And Ralston and Johnson, Johnson doesn't really get rested that much either. This does feel like an Anthony Ralston type match.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I don't know. Johnson tends to kind of play loads of games and then he gets to sit out and then he plays loads of games again. But this is just an unusual one because it's a Champions League playoff, It's a really kind of extra special occasion, and we don't really get here very often, to be in this sort of spell in Europe and in February and stuff. That's a bit unusual for us, so it could be a sort of special precaution if that makes sense. Johnson or Rouse, Dundee United will probably sit in right. So even away from home, when we played them, they sat right behind the ball. So I think either or would work.
Goodwin loves a bit of that, doesn't he? Goodwin loves parking the bus against the Glasgow teams, doesn't he?
Yeah. Park the bus. So Jota and Yang just makes perfect sense because they're the kind of guys you would want to play against a low block. And then what he does with the defence, he could just say with the defence, if they park the bus, then they're just going to be strolling about. I'm not too worried about them, want to keep them in a match rhythm. But I'd imagine there will be probably maybe one change or whatever in the defence, maybe two, I don't know. But most likely maybe like one-ish, you know.
Yeah, and again, Monty, I'm with you all the way on this one, but it's kind of like preparing for a cup final in some ways. Again, he had. Oh, sorry, that wasn't Monty's comment, or somebody else's that came up. So I'm with you on that. But if you're Brendan Rodgers, like you're just saying there, but this is our biggest Champions League campaign we have ever had. This will be our 10th match. We've already bagged 80 million. I think this game, somebody said this next match is worth 10 million. I don't know what we'll get guaranteed for these two matches, but we've got to be getting the thick end of 100 mil for this campaign. And we've never had 10 Champions League matches, excluding qualifiers, before. So it's real cup final territory. Imagine we get by Bayern. You know, we're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. You know, that's what would happen if we beat Bayern, if we get by them. Extra time penalties, don't give a fuck how it happens. So do you just, I know what you're saying, Monty, but we don't give a fuck about the league right now. You know, like we've got Dundee United who probably give us all the ball. Like McBride's just kind of brought up there. And then we've got this game against Bayern. We don't need to worry about an invincible thing to protect because we're not invincible in the league anymore. The cup's dealt with. It's nothing to do with this match. Would it be last 16? Oh, of course, yeah. I'm an idiot. I was saying quarterfinals because I'm thinking it's 8 versus 8. There's 8 teams already qualified, and then the 8 winners of the playoffs play them. So I've just did 8 plus 8. I just did 8 quarterfinal, but it's last 16, and then the last 8 teams, 4 versus 4. Is quarters, of course. Apologies, Terence. Thanks for the catch. I do appreciate that, man.
New format, Quinny. We'll leave you alone.
it's basic maths. I'm all right with middle maths, not good with high maths, and not good with low maths sometimes. But yeah. So yeah, I'm not too sure what happens with the defense. I think it's really all up in the air. I think Trusty's the most nailed on one for me. Taylor and Schlupp is quite a coin flip. I think it probably is Johnston, and he comes off for Ralston. Could maybe see a bit of that.
Yeah.
And then the other centre back, like it could be MD, really. You know, the midfield kind of is limited and the forward line is kind of limited. And in terms of like making sure you win this game, Engels, McGregor, Jota, Ida, you know, that's good enough to win this game. You know, that'll get us a couple of goals, you know. And that was the other thing I was going to mention. A few of the guys in the chat, McBride, were saying, rest Schmeichel. Dare we?
Well, I was saying, like Sinisalo against Strafe Rovers, like you should have charged them an admission ticket. Like you just watched that much of the game, like just watching the game. Like it's like there you go, it's 30 quid. Like you've got to pay an entry fee. I don't know, maybe. It doesn't tend to. I think when Sinisalo played in the cup game, Schmeichel had a wee thing with his back, and Brendan said, "Look, it's nothing that serious, but we'll take this chance to like give him some rest." So I don't know. I wouldn't personally. I think that what you do is you get the league wrapped up by like the split or whatever, and then you play whoever you want. You know, like then you rotate and everything because you've still got to be in a rhythm. You know, we've got Hibs in the cup, so you've still got a few rounds of the cup to go. You've still got a big game to play against Bayern Munich. You've got to you got to keep putting points on the board to make sure that you don't give any sort of hope out there that there's a comeback on, because all it takes, slip up for 2 games, you're looking at an Old Firm game and people are starting to say, oh, well, if they win that one, then it's only back to 5 points again, so you've got to just keep putting the points on the board. That's what I would say. And then once you've got the points on the board, you've got 4 games left and the league's wrapped up. You can play Dane Murray, you can play Sinis, you can play anybody. You'll go and get our boots on, we'll go and get a game, and we'll get just like bring on the fans, and you all get a chance to play now because we've won the league right out of the park. Let's go that way. Let's not mess about too much. But there will be rotations. I think there will probably. How many do you think, based on that? Maybe changes from midweek. Maybe say 3 or 4. Maybe something like that.
I think this is a team I would imagine goes out. So I would say 1, 2, 3, 5. I'd give it 5.
Or 5, yeah. I don't think he'll go any more than 5, to be honest. You never know, but I think 4 or 5 kind of makes sense. That's like half a team, and then you can manage minutes with other guys who haven't you haven't rested from the bench, and then that's you've really rotated nearly a whole team because you've got the 5 subs. So.
And we still go into the game with the mentality to win, Maestro. Please don't get me wrong on that. But like, like let's give ourselves every chance of doing Bayern. So yeah, that's one of those ones. I know you've got a slightly different projected 11. I think you think is it maybe Taylor and Vickers for you, or are you kind of is this the kind of team you've got expected as well? Sorry,
I've really lowered the percentages. It's one of those where it's like I've put somebody at 60% here. Like you don't put your hat on him starting type thing, like in the comments I said I think Schlipp will probably start somewhere, but I don't know, he might like fill a midfield slot or whatever. I think like if you're picking guys like, McCowan and Jota, for example, are just stick-ons to actually start, so you can, they'll definitely get minutes in the game. If they didn't start, it'd be a surprise. They're definitely coming for the bench, but I think they're almost certainly starting based on, who we've got available in midfield. Yang really deserves a start. Might not start, but I think he really deserves a start. He's playing well, he's confident. He looks as if he's developing. Give him some game time. Makes loads of sense. Means that you can rest Kuhn a wee bit. He gets those kind of wee niggly things and everything as well. Those spells where he's missing games for what seems like daft stuff or whatever. So just manage his minutes and just have him like fresh for the game against Bayern Munich. So yeah, and McGregor will just cut about, just his ears ringing for Quinny, just shouting, "Tackle somebody! Just tackle somebody!"
The biggest pet peeve I've got with it is like when the ball's in touching distance from him, and he's never going to do it. He's just never going to touch the ball. He's never going to affect it. He's never going to try and win it. And the other thing, if any of you have caught my analysis that went out earlier today, it was kind of at the end of the video. I meant to mention it earlier, but not once, by the way, does McGregor take a ball on a half turn anymore. Like McGregor is square shoulders the whole time, plays where he's facing, and that's safe and that's fine and whatever. But if you are going to be this guy needs to play on the half turn sometimes. This guy needs to open up his body on the first touch sometimes, And he'll probably be listening to the stream. McGregor fist bump. Thanks for joining, mate. Hope you've liked and subscribed and all that good chat. But we need you to do that, mate, against Bayerns and stuff like that at least once, because you'll rip them open with it because they'll only see it coming. I meant to say earlier, by the way, I got one of my best notifications in a while. Jordan Larson has scored tonight for Copenhagen versus Heidenheim. So we'll be linked to him in the summer.
No doubt, aye. Well, the thing as well is, Quinny, that I met him, McGregor, was the Leipzig game, wasn't it? He was brilliant against Leipzig. It's one of his kind of vintage performances. So I think the frustration is that we know that he's got that in him, So that we know he can do it, but a lot of times he got the ball, would touch it, and he would play it back to the defence, right? So
facing,
Aye. There's patterns of play thing as well, because in Scotland, we do that and we try and recycle the ball out wide and everything, and understand it. So it could be a tactical thing for sure. Maybe like after that doing we got against Dortmund or whatever, it's like don't jump in, don't because the thing is, like as soon as you jump in against a Michael Elise or whatever, like be through, So I've been a bit harsh, but
I do get that. But I think like with this and with what Brown Warriors said on screen as well, like I get that, but there's two. The thing with football is it's the same as music, right? The best song you ever hear has a bit in it that you didn't hear coming. You didn't the first time you heard it. It was this unexpected surprise. And the same with football. The most effective sequences of play are the unexpected ones. And yeah, maybe tactical. Let's keep it tight and all that. But you need to be aware that they're not expecting you to now go on the half turn and switch the ball out, or go on the half turn and ping it up to Ida into his feet. And you need to, be cute to that. And in terms of the diving in thing, I don't always need you to dive in, but like I always say, like I say, I didn't coach to like a professional level or anything. But I got my B license. I like to think I know a wee bit about what I'm yapping about. But if you can't always win the ball, it's like I mentioned with Sané. How does Sané dribble? He's upright, his chin's up, and he's looking at where he's going. He can control the ball with his feet without looking at it. See, if you touch the ball in any way at all, he needs to look at it. He needs to take another touch, and then he can go back to doing what he's doing. That might all sound really, petty or whatever, But that makes a material difference at that level of the game. If you just affect the ball, you don't need to win it, you know. So again, I'll bang that drum one more time. And
No, I get your point. It's like, you know, look at what Maeda does. Right? Obviously, like McGregor can't really press like Maeda, run about like Maeda, do a lot of stuff like Maeda. But Maeda causes chaos, you know, because he's in amongst it, and you know, he's like the goal he scored against Rangers at Hampden. You know, he just like some mad flick on it. It's went up there. I'm going to put it there. You know, he just does stuff like that. So we know McGregor's not like that. But I get your point. It's like, you know, the ball's going to cross. He just seems quite passive. You know, it's always if I want to stay in position. But I think for that point of view, because he's not really a defensive midfielder, that hampers him as well, because he knows he's not got like recovery pace or whatever, you know. Somebody like gets past him or whatever, he's not going to run back, he's not going to catch Michael Elise, he's not going to catch Sani, not a lot of people are, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's not going to get back on Musiala or whatever, because they'll be away and then it'll be a goal. So I totally understand it. But you know, I think we take a lot of positives for that. I think, you know, we might get a chance to see some of the guys like Yang and everything at the weekend. Get to see Jota again at home. Absolutely brilliant, you know. Great to have him back. And we're talking now about bringing in guys like Jota on rotation in some way. You know, that's a far, far better position than we were in before. We managed to get rid of Palmer. Hallelujah. Honestly, guy was doing my nothing, amongst others. So, no, we've managed to shift out some guys that we would want to get out, and it's starting to shape up the way you think you're getting there, you know. So we're nearly there.
Almost there. Dundee United, we batter them. How many goals do we get? Is it a modest 2 or 3, or do we put them to the sword and get another 5 or 6? I'm thinking this is a 2-0. That's how I'm feeling, McBride.
I was going to say maybe slightly less, so I'll just do something different. I'll just say 3-0. I do think we'll score a few, because even in the changes we've got some good quality there. So using within the Brendan's buzzwords, pace, power, whatever you want to say. But we've got enough to score a couple of goals, I think, even against a low block. So we'll go for 3-0.
Nice one. If I was to take a man in the match, I'm going to go for McKeown. I can see McKeown being the star of the show in this one, fully rested, main man job. Maybe gets 90 minutes as well. I think it could be a good one for him. Maybe Jota. Jota's the one everyone wants to write the headlines, but McKeown could be the one that, you know, puts the hard yards in, makes it get over the line kind of vibes. He always plays well against the Dundee teams.
I'm going to go for Youngsters Paradise. Go for Yang.
Love that. Yang hat-trick.
Well, you know, they play well. You could see, like, I think, like, yeah, if that low block, you know, he'll cause some problems, you know. So I hope he builds on that, because I want him to do well. Everybody wants him to do well, but you know, hope he continues that form and he develops. That'd be great.
Yeah, likewise. And to any that are going to the game, Dundee United, or if you're going to Germany, in case we don't see you between them, travel safe. Hope you all have fun. If you've watched this after we've been live, this is where you leave your receipts on the internet. I want to see score predictions, man the match shouts. Leave them in the comments section, which will open up as soon as the live stream is done. For any of you guys that are live, that want to get your receipts on the internet as well. And yeah, plenty of content out on the channel, reactions, breakdowns, previews, all that good stuff. But yeah, McBride, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for joining me. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail. The Celts are here.
Celts are here. Mon hoops.
Mon hoops.